Yo, what's up, gamers? Metallic Rock here, and today we are starting a Zero to Hero challenge on Prot Warrior challenge series, whatever. I'm a tank player. I play tanks. I have experience with all the tanks, but I have never gotten Prot Warrior to Keystone Hero, Keystone Master, anything like that. I've played Prot Warrior in some keys, but I've never really gotten them high up. Prot Warrior's in a unique position this season. In Season 1, Prot Warrior was actually very good. It was like the meta tank up until Paladin started to get more stats and then also got a terrific rework that made Prot Paladin insanely good. There are a couple things this season, though, that kind of put some pressure on Prot Warrior. For one thing, there's like a lot of magical damage, and they're not really the best at dealing with magical damage, particularly like magical dots. But, you know, to make up for that, there's also a lot of bleeds, which warriors are also terrible with. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. As always, if you're going to be starting a new class, a new tank, and you're not too familiar with it, I just suggest going to sub-creation and stealing whatever add-ons or whatever talents they say to use for Mythic Plus. It is worth reading through these, like especially whatever the changes are, but like you kind of want to know what's going on. If you see they're taking spell block, because that's super important. So if you're not familiar with a class already, or if you're new to tanking, definitely read through all the talents you've taken and see what synergies there are, and then read through the talents you didn't take and try to guess why. Because I see a lot of people just take talents, especially from like sub-creation. And it's important that sub-creation is the talents that the top players are using, like in the highest keys. And there are times that you taking those talents are not going to be good for your keys. That's important to note. We're starting off at 450, which is terrible. That's not even good for last season. And an important thing to note is that the reason we're starting is because this week offers 2 Booleans from the weekly quest. Now, it is Sunday, so I have today and tomorrow to get through 4 mythic zeros, probably, which I probably could already do right now. We actually do have a couple of nice things from last season. I have a Season 3 Prophetic Stone Scales. That's great. That's excellent to have. I can die every 8 minutes. And I actually had a Season 3 Vokash that I got from... I didn't raid on this character. I got this from like a dungeon box, like a previous dungeon week box. I got a hero Vokash, Golok, that's what it is. Vokash is for like int users. A Golok. This thing fucks. This thing's awesome. So a couple things we need to do this week before reset on Tuesday, if we want to move this warrior along, is get into LFR. Step 1. Do our weekly dungeon quest. That will give us enough Booleans to buy 2 items. Which 2 items? Probably a new Golok and a shield. That's very important. These are like the 2 best things you can buy on a warrior. We actually do have a previous 4-piece, which is great. So maybe this isn't a true 0 to hero challenge. Maybe this is like a 1 to hero challenge, you know? A 2 to hero challenge. Realistically, at this point, you have like 4 catalyst charges. You could get 4-piece as you got gear instantly. But to be fair, I am at a slight advantage than someone else would be. Obviously, you're going to want to buy the weapon from Farak. That's going to be a huge upgrade. And I'm not sure the shields that are available. Oh, I can't. I've never seen this on a character before. I'm not sure the shields that are available. I guess there's this shield here, crit haste, haste verse, and I'm sure there are shields on other raids as well. I'll have to figure all that out. But knowledge is your friend on a new tank. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do probably is just, I can't actually do LFR yet, but I'm not far off. 10 eye levels off. That's not crazy. That's not a crazy amount of eye levels. I actually didn't record me doing like the Super Bloom weekly quest, and that's great because I got fucking punished for it. I got this ring and this same ring and then the ring again. I got a veteran, or I got a adventurer, veteran, and champion version of the same ring. So I got like no eye level upgrades, One of the things that's the worst for me, this is like season 1 hands. So I'm gonna buy these, even though they're kind of fucking expensive for what I'd like to buy. They're like a 50 eye level upgrade. This probably won't be enough to get me there, but I mean, 2 eye levels from white item, and I'm 457 in bags. It's probably these rings I can't put on. So it's probably good that I hold on to those. Yeah, so actually we're probably going to be stepping into a heroic dungeon. You know, they reworked Mythic Plus, and heroic dungeons are like worth doing now for getting gear. Let's get in there and try it out. While we go through our heroic dungeons, I just thought I would lay a couple ground rules out. Obviously, I didn't start a new character. Most Zero to Hero series you've watched have probably been started with new characters, but I'm gonna be honest, I just couldn't be bothered. I already had this warrior at level 70, and it was still wearing Season 1 gear. I figured it'd be fine, but if people are upset by this, I would consider leveling a completely fresh new character in the future if I were to do this again, particularly with the Pandaria time walking coming up. That'd be a great time to do that. When it comes to pugging versus playing with friends, for the most part, I'm going to pug up to Keystone Hero. I did some keys this week with some friends you'll see later on who were gearing alts and doing their weekly Boolean quest. We never went higher than a 2. The main reason is everyone I play with regularly are 2,800 plus players every single season, and it would trivialize the experience if I just had them boost the warrior. It wouldn't be very accurate or reflective of what it's like trying to get Keystone Master on Keystone Hero on a non-meta tank. And on that last point, Warrior is currently the second highest rated IO tank on Subcreation, and it's currently receiving buffs. I didn't know this when I started making the videos, and the buffs were not even announced until after. It's a bit funny, and maybe I'm just getting lucky predicting the meta earlier or something. This will be my new main by the end of the series. Either way, Warrior is still the only tank I've never had KSM on, so I'm sticking with it. After a couple of heroics, we had gotten our eye level up, and I headed to the auction house to purchase a couple final pieces of gear just to push me over the line so that I could make it into LFR. Even after all of that, my eye level was high enough and it wouldn't let me join LFR. I went over to use some like flight stones to try to upgrade the gear to see if it was bugged out. It ended up just requiring me to restart the game, and then it would let me into LFR. I even tried slash reloading, that didn't do anything, so I'm gonna have to cut here to whenever it's actually working. One restart later, and it was time to get into LFR. I was on the hunt for at least 2 out of my 3 Booleans, and any gear that I could pick up at all. At this point, I've completely broken my tier set. That way I didn't have any advantage over anyone else who wouldn't have already had it. I did that just by getting lucky on some heroic dungeon items. So let's jump in LFR and see what we can get. After finishing LFR, I had 2 Booleans and I purchased a Golok. I was a ripe 469 and ready to start some zeros so that I could get my other 2 Booleans for my second item. I just wanted to showcase that even in a group where I know 3 out of 5 people, the mage doing a lot of damage and the demon hunter are randoms. The mage doing no damage and the shaman are people from my guild. Things can go terrible, even in a zero. I have no idea what happened. Somebody pulled those 2 guards over there, run them through the boss, and then we proceed to wipe in a mythic zero. I think the 2 randoms were also like 2200. So everybody in this mythic zero is like a Keystone Master or a Keystone Hero rating on their main characters at minimum, and we proceed to wipe in a Mythic Zero. So never feel bad if you're out there like pugging. You can't control anything that's happening. at all. The successful Azure Blade attempt got me some new feet that I replaced my Raid Finder feet with. And then I proceeded to do several more dungeons that I'm going to summarize here quickly, just to save some time. Champion Shield from Umbral Skull, Shoulders from Primal Sushi, and then also, I don't know where the footage went, but I did a Brackenhide, and I got wrists from Treemouth, champion wrists. After that, I had 2 Booleans, and I was ready to buy my next item, and I ended up getting a Grief Torch, because I already had the Champion Shield, which is good enough for now, and if I'm going to be pugging on the Warrior, I figured a Grief Torch might come in handy. Alright gamers, so this is where we're going to be finishing at for the first week. We got up to 477, 481 in bags, but they're counting the copies of the rings that I can't put on, so those don't really count. I bought a Golok, and I bought a Grief Torch. I was convinced to buy a Grief Torch, but it's a good point. I'm going to be probably doing a lot of pugging on this character. And I already had a Champion Shield, and this week I can buy a shield. 2 Booleans are out just in Raid this week. I didn't get all 3 of mine last week, so there should be a catch-up one from last week and a new one dropping this week. So I can go out and buy a shield and have Bis Weapon, Bis Shield, and a little Grief Torch. So we're finishing week 1 around 903. That's not really anything because all the big score will come later in like 7s and 8s. And around 480. You can see by the quest, it is actually Tuesday, and this is exactly where the next part is going to pick up at. So, peace out, and I'll see you there.